Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's our summer spectacular. 3 top prizes that have to be won. There's cash. £15,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like this summer. Plus a brand new iPhone 15 with a set of Apple AirPods. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also treat you to some fun in the sun with £500 to spend at your favourite UK attraction this summer. For another chance to win the iPhone, treats and £15,000 cash, text prize to 63232. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or post your name and number to GB06 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 28th of June. Full terms and privacy notice at gbnews.com/win. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Nana Queer, weekends from 3 p.m.
Angela, what's on the menu?
Well, the menu today really is the battle between King Charles and Prince Andrew about his home, a royal lodge. It's gone on for quite a long time now because increasingly the place looks very dilapidated. No paint, raw under the way that the whole thing's built, and King Charles gives him £3 million a year to have safety, and also another $1 million just to keep it going, and it costs about £400,000 a month to keep the place going.
Really?
So it is ridiculous that he's there, and I think it's like anybody. If you get to a certain age, his daughters don't stay there because they stay in London, you get to age when you downgrade. And it's not a big deal, it's not hopeless, it's actually gives you a fresh feeling. And I think it's very silly that he won't do it, but he's determined not to, and the King is determined to, and it seems that if he doesn't listen and make all these decorations properly, that he's going to stop giving him the money, which would be very difficult indeed for him.
Because every 5 years, isn't he meant to paint the outside and all sorts of things?
And the Queen didn't give him much money in her will. It all goes to the heir. So Charles has got the money. And so, you just wonder how he'll manage, because he's only got, what he can do.
How he'll manage? He can move somewhere cheaper like the rest of us. I mean, £400,000 a month.
Yeah.
You could go to Frogmore Cottage, which is the offer.
Yes, exactly. That's the offer. And it's all been very decorated. Apparently Meghan did it very nicely. It's much smaller, but it's also very carefully guarded. So he should be able to do that.
The People's Channel.
Good evening. The top stories from the GB newsroom. New CCTV footage has been released showing TV doctor Michael Mosley before he went missing on the Greek island of Symi. The footage shows the 67-year-old walking by himself on Symi Marina on the 5th of June. An emergency helicopter arrived on the Greek island today. The rescue effort continued amid soaring temperatures. Michael's wife says his family will not lose hope. Rishi Sunak says it's a huge relief to see the return of hostages who were kidnapped in Hamas's attack on Israel on the 7th of October. Noah Argamani, Almog Mirjan, Andriy Kozlov and Shlomi Ziv were recovered by the IDF. The Prime Minister posted on X saying it's heartwarming to see the pictures of them reunited with their families. The rescue operation took place in central Gaza's Al-Nusrat in the heart of a residential neighbourhood. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited the hostages and their families in hospital. He says he remains committed to bringing all of the hostages back home. The Conservatives have pledged to reform the benefits system if they win the general election to halt the rising cost of welfare. They say the offer would help save around £12 billion a year by the end of the next Parliament by ensuring more working-age people currently claiming benefits have a job. The number out of work has risen sharply since the COVID pandemic, driven by early retirement and long-term health conditions. Meanwhile, Labour has criticised the Prime Minister for dodging media questions on today's campaign trail as the fallout continued over his early return from D-Day events in Normandy. Labour has set out plans to relieve pressure on prisons by unblocking the planning process and boosting the prison building programme. The party said the prison estate is bursting at the seams due to inaction and mismanagement, they say, by the Conservative Party. Earlier this year, chief constables were urged to take fewer suspects into custody amid overcrowding. This followed plans to expand the early release scheme and let some inmates out of jail up to 70 days early to free up cells. The Conservatives say the last Labour government let 80,000 criminals out early and failed to build the prisons they promised. And the Liberal Democrats have unveiled a plan to fix ambulance wait times through an extra 1,000 staffed hospital beds. This, of course, coming ahead of the party's manifesto launch next week. The party says the plan would help end excessive handover delays and patients having to wait in corridors to be treated. They say the proposals will be funded through an upfront capital investment of £280 million to expand urgent treatment centres and A&E wards and an additional £400 million per year to add those extra beds. Liberal Democrats leader Sir Ed Davies says in some parts of the country it's been a crisis.
We've seen in some parts of the country people's loved ones dying before the ambulances arrive. We've seen queues at hospitals as ambulances are waiting to hand over their patients, and something has to be done. We've got a comprehensive package to turn around this mess the Conservatives made of ambulance services, and that starts with extra beds, extra 1,000 beds in our hospitals, but it also links up to our care policies so people can come out of hospitals more quickly when they're ready to.
For the latest stories, sign up to GB News Alerts by scanning the QR code on your screen or go to gbnews.com/alerts. Now it's time for Headliners.
Hello and welcome to Headliners, the show that gives you a first look at the next day's papers with three comedians. I'm Stephen Allen, joined tonight by Salt of the Earth, Leo Kearse, and Salt of the Flat Earth, Lewis Schaefer. How you both doing? You had a good time? What were you just doing before the show?
I was doing another show.
Oh, well, that's not bad, is it?
Yeah, the Saturday Night Showdown. It's a great show. You should tune in next Saturday.
That is a win. That's definitely a win. Lewis, what were you doing before the show?
I was locked in the basement of the GBNews building.
Oh.
And I was thinking, how long am I going to have to stay there?
Oh, look, there you go. We've got you trapped behind... You put your head through the railings, did you? Is that what it is?
No, I had to break one of the alarms, but I didn't break the alarm. It was a travesty.
Did you have to break the glass on the fire alarm?
Yes, you know when you say press here.
Yeah.
I didn't realise how that worked.
Did it break?
It broke, but it's not like, it wasn't like shattering, and I didn't. Don't worry about it. But I appreciate you caring the people outside.
You set off an alarm so that we had to come and get you.
Because I had to.
We would have been fine. You didn't need to worry. Mark Dolan could have done it.
That's what I was worried about, because I left my phone upstairs. I could have called somebody, but I left my phone upstairs. Yeah. And all my
it's
stuff.
One of those ones with you hold this bit and then you hold the other bit.
Whitehall 251. You got that kind of vibe.
I thought to myself, the people are going to forget about me. You have forgotten about me.
Hey, no one came to find you. You had to press the button. There's a lesson in there somewhere. Right, let's start with a quick look at Sunday's front pages. The Mail on Sunday goes with divers hunt for missing Dr. Mosley in cave called the Abyss. The front page of the Sunday Telegraph says Starmer's net zero plans. The Observer, Labour pledges 18 new rape courts to tackle backlog crisis. The Sunday Times, Starmer's triple lock pledge on not hiking tax. The Sunday Express, Farage, we're now real opposition. And the Daily Star Sunday, I call my son Lucifer. About our little lads and our little devil. And those are your front pages. Let's make some sense of this all then to the Express. What have they gone with, Leo?
So they've gone with Farage. We're now the real opposition. So he says there's apparently rumours he's in a Tory hostile takeover plot, and he's got a 6-year master plan to realign UK politics. And he says that only he can hold Labour to account, is what Nigel Farage claims. I mean, the way things are looking for Rishi Sunak, they're not looking good. And like, he keeps making these sort of needless gaffes. So we could almost see, you know, how Labour became the sort of dominant party on the left when they overtook the Liberals in, I think it was the 1920s, which isn't, you know, I mean, all right, 100 years ago. But, you know, sometimes big political parties, we see this in the continent a lot, big political parties like the Socialists in France just crumble and implode. And I think we're seeing that with the Tories because they haven't been a Conservative party. So Reform now have the actual Conservative values and people might be looking to them instead. Well, they are.
I agree with that. I mean, who gets the Tory stuff? There's lots of stuff. They got all these buildings and Conservative clubs all over the place. There's a lot of stuff that they have. And
just change the badge.
Yeah. So
Reform.
I mean, I think Farage. I think people are going to wake up and they're going to say, you know what? I don't think Rishi Sunak is going to win it for us.
Yeah.
And so we might as well go on the other side and see what they're going to do, which it could be the end of. But they asked for it themselves, the Tories, I would assume.
Yeah.
I mean, what did they do that was so wrong? They didn't.
Well, they got rid of Boris. I mean, I think, you know, getting rid of Boris might have appealed to Rishi Sunak at the time because he gets to be the top boss and run things. But, you know, now that, well, in fact, they got rid of Boris and then Truss was in and then Rishi was in. But I think if they'd held on to Boris, one thing that Boris does is wins elections with huge majorities. So they kind of need that right now.
How many times did he win elections with huge majorities?
Well, going back to the most recent one.
Yeah, but it's only the
100% in the most recent one.
If you only look at 2019, but I mean, look, I know David Cameron's back, but he actually has a better track record. But again, a lot of that was just people got tired of Labour. I mean, I suppose even with Gordon Brown calling people bigoted and having no charisma, not that you need charisma to win anything these days, is what we've learned, but you get bored of them, don't you? A nation starts to think what you're promising doesn't mean anything because you've had a decade or so to deliver on it. You've not done, so let's try something else. And that's what happened in 2010.
Yeah.
And then, 14 years later, swinging the other way.
And the trouble is, like, now both of the main parties just offer the same thing of, like, a gradual, increasing size and power of the state. So, we're just sort of sleepwalking into a soft communism with both of them. So, I mean, at least Reform offers something different. I was reading today about the Tories are looking at hiking tax. Hikers pay enough tax already.
The shoes alone. I don't want to spend ages on this, but everyone else is pronouncing reform like the noun, but you're saying reform like the verb.
Reform. I say that I call Berkhamsted.
Yeah.
So as in, like, put it back together, reform.
Reform. No,
Not
that's just how I talk.
No, because I presumed it was a party all about changing things, but maybe it's just about putting stuff back together.
Yeah, maybe it is.
Oh, plot twist.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. I hadn't thought about that. No. I had thought about it, but I didn't say anything about it.
And for balance, because I know there's no other story that we're covering tonight that talks about Lib Dems, can we just mention how they're having a great time? Because David, he's been off playing golf. He's probably been scuba diving.
Yeah.
He's never going to get a job, but he's had a lovely little trip, hasn't he? He's had a great day out. So there we go.
And it has basically worked for him.
Yeah.
Because people now thinking about him, I think, is he trying to be, like, super healthy looking? Is that what that is? That he's able to fall into the water and
just like a Make-A-Wish thing. He's just going to all the day trips he's wanted to do for ages. This is brilliant. All right, moving on to the Observer, Lewis. What have they got?
Well, this definitely is. This is not good news. It's not good news. Israel celebrates rescue of 4 hostages as airstrikes and raids. I said that as a joke. It's not. It is. I guess it's good news for them. And as raids kill 93 Palestinians, they have to put that in there. They have to put that in there. These are people. The raids killed 93 Palestinians because they were defending these 4 people. They were trying to hold on to the 4 hostages. They looked pretty. They looked like they were pretty healthy. The 4 hostages.
They look much healthier than when Ukrainian prisoners of war come back from Russia.
Yeah.
They're all, like, emaciated and they've been tortured and starved.
Oh, you want to get to the Russian situation?
I'm just saying, they've been looked after. Obviously, some aid is getting through.
Well, maybe they were happy to have guests or something. The Palestinians are lovely people, not in this situation. But I have one of my closest friends, is a Palestinian person who is totally behind what Palestine is doing, and they're in a jam. I'm going to say something nice about the Palestinians, and they're in a jam. You feel for them. I don't know if they've been kicked off their land, but they moved off their land, or
they feel that they've been.
They feel that way.
Even though if you go back to Judea, You know?
Who owned the country in the beginning? But they feel that it was their land and that they lost it. So you can see the pain that they've been through. But I think it reminds people that that something horrible was happening there.
Yeah. And Hamas have said that the rescue of 4 hostages after 8 months is a sign of failure, not achievement, because they've still got 120 hostages, which is actually, I mean, that's true. And I think Netanyahu and the whole Israeli military mission it's failed to bring all the hostages back. It's failed to destroy Hamas. I know it's an impossible mission, really, but I think they're going to be forced into a corner where they have to look at something other than military action, and they have to look at how Gaza is going to be governed after the military occupation.
See, Leo, I would agree with you. But the results have come in where they actually polled the people of Gaza, a certain number of them, and they found out, do you think that the military intervention of October 7th was what they did in October 7th was a good idea? And it's gone down since this has happened.
Oh, really?
Whereas in the West Bank, where there's similar Palestinians, I guess, it's stayed the same.
So if you bomb people enough, you can eventually...
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick hit of the Mail on Sunday, because we're running out of time, so let's do a quick one on this one, Leo. What have they got?
So the Mail on Sunday have the missing Mail columnist Michael Mosley. So divers are hunting for him in a cave called the Abyss, which doesn't sound that's great. I'd much rather be lost in a cave called the Easy to Get Out of, or
the Ibis.
Yeah, the Ibis, not the ISIS. That'd be worse. But yeah, I mean, things are looking great. But you notice when you're on holiday and you walk along the cliffs and stuff, I'm always like walking along thinking, man, this is dangerous. If I just stepped over there, it'd be a terrible thing. So I don't know if he's had a medical incident himself, or if he's got lost, or what's happened. But I mean, it's not looking too hopeful.
Yeah, I was hoping to be found, because he's one of the people that, especially loads of blokes who read that book, who, you need to slim down for something, you do the 5-2. He's kind of a leader of people who have a certain diet, and this hurts us.
He is better than some, but worse than others. His diet, 5-2 diet, is basically, let's trick you into losing weight. It doesn't, as
long as it works.
I mean, we want him back, but...
But yeah, so if you don't eat on 2 days, like obviously you're going to lose weight, because you're not eating on 2 days.
Right, so you're saying,
that's not diet, that's just not eating.
That's all the end of the book for the people who've not read it yet. Right, that's the front pages dealt with, but coming up, Rishi Sunak's French exit, and tax doesn't have to be taxing, but after the next election, it will be. Get the details next.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
The Princess of Wales has said she's excited by a new report on prioritising early childhood, a cause, as we know, that she's closely associated with.
Yes, the task force findings claim that the UK could reap £45.5 billion in economic benefits if firms prioritise early childhood.
Well, let's talk about this now with our royal correspondent, Cameron Walker. Good morning, Cameron.
Good morning.
I suppose it's characteristically Catherine, isn't it, to say she doesn't want to distract from this report by sort of people talking about her health. But we should start probably by saying she said she's not feeling well enough to come and talk about this in public, but sort of saying she's watching it, keeping a close eye from behind closed doors.
Yeah, absolutely. This should not be seen as a return to work by the Princess of Wales, but I have been told she's A, read the report, and B, been briefed on it. But this all stems really from her work when she started being a working member of the royal family, where she was working closely with people suffering from addiction, mental health problems. And what she found is all of these issues tend to stem from a poor start in life, so the first 5 years of a child's life. So in January 2023, she set up Shaping Us, this awareness campaign for the early years. 2 months later, she convened the Business Task Force, so 8 members of big businesses across the UK, and over a generation, that could add, as they claim, more than £40 billion to the UK economy each year. We spoke to Peter Grigg yesterday. He's the chair of Home Starts UK, a charity which supports young families. Let's hear what he said about the Princess's role in this.
She's been a real driving force behind the report and everything it's done. And when we've spent time with the Royal Foundation, what it does, it reminds everyone that this is really important work, and early childhood matters, that more businesses should get involved, that more charities are out there for people who want to do more to support families and children. So it's been a wonderful experience.
The People's Channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes,
She could have said stump.
you made my argument for me.
My guest and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different.
Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Stephen Allen, still joined by Leo Kearse and a man I tried to lock in a room earlier on, but it didn't work, Lewis Schaefer.
That wasn't you, was it you?
I do love the picture. If you look behind you,
I'm looking at the screen.
It's like Jeffrey Epstein getting led away.
That's the old Lewis Schaefer. That was actually the fat Lewis Schaefer.
Oh, yeah. Well, no wonder you were stuck in the bars. That's why you lost weight, is it? Because you had to try and get out.
The hair is. This is 10. Yeah. That's 10 years ago, probably.
Let's crack into the papers then, Lewis. The Sunday Telegraph, a Tory-supporting newspaper, attacks Labour by pointing out that they'll do exactly what the Tories will do.
Yeah, I don't really understand this. Basically, it says Labour will press ahead with Tory stealth taxes, says Shadow Minister. So the Shadow Minister, this guy named, I don't pay attention to who these people are because they're all appointed, Jonathan Reynolds, he says we're just going to keep in place what the Tories were doing, and the Tories were about to raise taxes. So don't get mad at us for raising taxes. But the truth is, they would have raised taxes anyway, because that's what Labour does. They raise taxes.
Yeah.
That's
what all governments do.
That's what all, especially team world governments.
Yeah.
And that's what Labour was, and that's what the thing is. And like I always say, the Labour steals money, but the Tories waste. So
isn't it the other way around?
No.
Well, maybe they both waste anyway.
Yeah, maybe waste is not the right word.
Sorry, I didn't mean to make it awkward.
Yeah, you did make it awkward.
It was fun watching the wheels come off. We had some great momentum there for a second.
Because I want to say the right thing. Anyway, the taxes are they're unbelievable, and they're going to get worse.
Yeah.
The country's getting poorer, and I'm going back to America.
And the trouble is, we've got an ageing population. So by 2035, we won't be able to service our pensions. That's one of the biggest chunks of spending. And I don't know who thought back in whenever pensions were invented, like the 1960s or whatever. Why did they start doing that? Don't tell people they get free money when they're old. Just don't ever do it. Yeah. And then, we could have kept all that money. Could have just not paid as much tax. Old people wouldn't know. They'd be fine because it had always been like that. It's like, save up some money yourself, and now the people who've been paying into the system all their lives, like me basically, aren't going to get a pension, which I knew. So, it's not like I was depending on that state pension.
I mean, we kind of presumed for us, like Generation X, you knew there'd be no future, but people above Generation X still have this sense of, I paid into the pot.
Yeah.
Where's my money? Like, no, your money was spent on the people who had a pension when you were paying in. There is no pot.
They used that money when you gave it to them.
Yeah.
And now they don't have the money.
And now it's triple locked, so they can't reduce it. They got to keep on this triple lock. Do you understand the triple lock thing?
Yeah. It is ridiculous because it locks in the worst of any of the mathematical errors.
Yeah.
So if you've got two perfectly normal figures and one of them's some outlier, that one's not only locked in that year, but then gets added on to for the rest of it. It's ridiculous.
And you know who's getting money in this country from these people?
Who?
You.
Lewis Schaefer.
Because you're a pensioner.
Yeah, because I look amazing, but I'm a pensioner.
No one's shocked, but it's weird, isn't it? You can't hear any shock at that moment.
So basically, it's Labour. Labour is going to spend more money.
Let's go to the Sunday Telegraph. The BBC platformed a general who called Hamas's attack a victory, but they also employed Savile, so probably doesn't even hit their top 10.
Yeah, I mean, this is nuts. The BBC has defended giving airtime to a retired Egyptian army general who hailed the October the 7th Hamas attacks on Israel as a month of victory. I mean, that's an interesting way to look at, you know, the sort of slaughter and rape of civilians and children. This is Samir Ragheb, who's been interviewed by BBC News Arabic 9 times since the war in Gaza began, despite sharing anti-Semitic material and pro-Palestinian posts online. So his posts include mocking Israeli civilians for seeking shelter during Hamas rocket attacks and claiming that Sinai returning to Egypt in 1982 was an act of purifying it from the Jews' filth. Bear in mind that BBC broadcasters would undoubtedly call me, you know, a far-right extremist bigot, but they're happy to platform somebody who says that the return of Sinai to Egypt is purifying it from the Jews' filth. It just shows the absolute two-tier system we've got in the West. It's absolutely nuts. And also, Sinai was returned to Egypt because, you know, part of it was, you know, to keep peace and good relations. Well, not good relations. They didn't have good relations with Egypt at the time, but because Israel didn't want to be responsible for those people and have them included in its country. But the BBC are saying BBC News Arabic is committed to hearing from a range of contributors to offer a variety of views and perspectives across our output. It's like, so that's diversity? Having somebody who absolutely hates Jews and says the most horrific things about them is diversity?
You know what? I disagree with you. I think it's good should have them on the air. This whole thing against Israel it's basically anti-Semitism. There's hundreds of thousands that are killed in Syria, and there's wars going on in Iran and everything. And they're not mentioning, well, why are they so focused on Israel? That has to do with a lot of it there's a lot of wars going on at the present moment. But the truth is the religion that a lot of these people believe in is a religion of hating people who don't ascribe to their religion, and especially the Jews, who were the originators of this religion. Probably if you go back genetically, a lot of them are Jews genetically,
yeah,
I would possibly say.
Well, to push back a little, I suppose, which is my job when I'm sat over here, is I've not watched BBC News Arabic, so I don't actually know the conversations that were had. And they make the point that you get the guest on and you can push back, you can counter. Actually, the people who've analysed this have just simply looked that this person was on a show and then looked at some of their social media and said, they've said this. How dare you platform them at all? And I suppose the same if the same thing happened to someone here, if they just looked through your social media and were like, oh, it's all food, is what they'd say to you. But if they just said, how dare you platform this person, here's a tweet that I disagree with, you might miss a clip where actually they're being taken to town on it.
Yeah.
I don't think that's happening, but...
Or they might have said, I'm having a bad day, and I regret saying that, right?
I just think this is complete double standards. And the stuff that people on the left or people that, you know, progressives think is right, you know, so, you know, slaughtering civilians in Israel is seen as decolonialism, and it's woke and it's good. I just think it's such double standards considering, you know, so many people are slandered as Nazis by the same people.
All right, we'll move on. I think we might need to skip over the next one because we've already covered that one. So, Leo, the Sunday Telegraph, upset as the university debate chamber was nearly used to hold a debate.
Yeah, it doesn't happen often.
Or is that me?
That's well, it's got my name in it. Yeah. So, he just said my name.
Because the next one we were going to do would have ended up being... We also could, just to give it a show behind the curtain, we took the wrong one out. We could double back and do the Rishi Sunak one if you needed, just saying.
No.
So... Yeah. So Durham University has cancelled a debate about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict after a mob of pro-Palestine protesters locked students inside, according to participants. So the debate was titled, "This House Believes Palestinian Leadership is the Biggest Barrier to Peace." It was scheduled for Friday night, but was called off at the last minute by the university. So, I mean, for a start, Palestinian leadership is arguably the biggest barrier to peace. They've had, you know, so many offers of you know, Palestinian statehood, and they've rejected them because they don't want statehood. They want to keep fighting because then they get money and they get glory and they get to kill Jews, which is what they want. They don't want peace.
That was what they want at the time. At now, they'll kill Christians too. They'll kill each other when.
Look at Lebanon. Look at Lebanon, where Christians have been slaughtered. So I don't know why people in the West are so intent on, you know, ensuring that we go down the same path as Lebanon. But yeah, protesters at this university are some of the, you know, idiots who are insisting that we Balkanize or Lebanese-ize ourselves. Were seen banging on the windows and doors of the chamber while chanting "From the river to the sea" after forming a human centipede to recycle their dinner. No, after forming a human chain to prevent students leaving. So one of the people in the debate said that they've caved to a fascist mob, and that's basically where we are. The woke progressives, because they've got this righteousness, and because they're completely misinformed and idiotic and beholden to critical
and a lot of them do believe in it, because it says, and the person who cancelled the debate afterwards is Dr. Shahid Mahmoud. Dr. Shahid, so he's the pro-vice chancellor of equality, diversity, and inclusion at Durham University. So this is the person who's saying maybe we shouldn't have this debate. He's on that horrible team.
To be inclusive, we need to exclude these ideas and these people. To be diverse, we need to slaughter people based on whatever their ethnic or religious background.
Police. The police should have been called. They should have been kicked out of the country. The people who were whatever they were.
Isn't it that they contacted the police but didn't give them the mandate to do anything about it? That's why nothing happened.
Yeah, what the university didn't give them the mandate. Yeah, this is happening in America too. And the difference in this country, there's a lot of people here who believe in this stuff.
In what stuff?
In the stuff. We don't want to see anyone who disagrees with us. I don't want to say it.
What do you believes in? What stuff?
You know what stuff.
Like the anti-Israel stuff.
Yes.
Right. Just say that.
I don't feel like.
Is there a word for that? A shorter word that you use a lot? No.
It's anti-Jewish.
I'm sure there's a word for that somewhere. That's it for part 2. But coming up, people are writing to Ofcom, but not about us this time. And are you ready to get nuked? Get When the Wind Blows ready to play. We'll be back shortly.
Hello, here's your latest weather update for the Met Office for GB News. The weather stays rather mixed across the UK over the next few days, a mixture of sunshine and showers, and staying quite chilly for the time of year too. The cool conditions are all down to a northerly airstream, low pressure anchored towards the north-east of the UK, high pressure out towards the west, and that's generating that northerly flow across all parts. So looking at things in more detail for this evening and through the overnight period, we'll see showers towards the north and northwest of the UK, quite blustery winds, so many of those showers rattling through quite quickly. The rain giving way to more persistent outbreaks as we head into the early hours of Sunday, particularly across Northern Ireland and the southwest of Scotland, whereas across England and Wales the cloud tends to melt away, so it will turn quite chilly here by Sunday morning. In fact, in rural spots we could see temperatures into low single figures, giving a touch of grass frost in one or two places, pretty unusual for this time of the year. Looking at things in more detail for early on Sunday, and towards the northeast of Scotland we'll see a mixture of sunshine and showers, quite a brisk northwesterly winds. Then we run into an area of more persistent rain across Northern Ireland, southwest Scotland, parts of northwest England, whereas elsewhere across England and Wales it's set fair, quite a chilly start, but there'll be plenty of sunshine around, and we'll hold on to some sunshine here, certainly through the morning on Sunday before cloud starts to increase from the north. Whereas across Northern Ireland we hold on to outbreaks of rain on and off through the day, and that rain slipping its way southeastwards across southwest Scotland into northern England and eventually parts of North Wales too. Further north it's a case of sunshine and showers towards the far northeast of the UK, and staying chilly here with quite a brisk northerly breeze. Temperatures generally no better than 12 to 14 Celsius, up to 20 though in London, that's 68 in Fahrenheit. As for Monday, we'll see an unsettled picture across England and Wales, certainly through the morning. Outbreaks of rain gradually clearing away to the south and east, giving way to a mixture of sunshine and showers across all parts for the remainder of the day. And with that northerly breeze still in place, it's staying quite chilly for the time of year too. We hold on to a showery picture into the middle part of the coming week, and temperatures stay quite disappointing for the early part of June as well.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled.
Lovely. Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners, Leo, to the Mail on Sunday. More evidence that Rishi Sunak wants to lose the election. We've put off the young voters with this national service thing, but the older voters still like you. Don't worry, there's a D-Day you can skip.
Yeah, so Rishi Sunak has apologised to disgusted veterans in his constituency, which contains Britain's largest army garrison, because he left a D-Day anniversary early and now is being accused of dodging the media, which I probably would do if I was Rishi Sunak right now. Yeah, I don't understand. He left this D-Day, anniversary event early. That's an easy gaffe to not make. You just stay. Don't be the first person to leave. Just wait until Joe Biden's left and then leave.
Yeah.
And then it played into America's hands, because then they could be like, yeah, it's just us who did D-Day. We saved Europe, like in all the films.
Was there too. He was there too. That horrible guy who runs Canada.
Yeah.
Trudeau.
Yeah.
I don't know why this is news, because he left. He just say, I left. I had other things to do.
Well, it is news because he had to apologise. It's upset loads of people. And there are questions, there are mysteries here, that he insists that this was a diary booking that was put in ages ago, before he'd even called the election.
Yeah.
But he left to go and do an interview with ITV about the election.
Yeah, but this is what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to be on TV. I'm surprised he doesn't think hanging out with the President of the United States and, even if it is Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Or all those other guys, Macron, isn't prestigious, isn't more, and it's going to be on TV too. They're going to show pictures of it. It's going to be on TVs forever. So he loses because he's an idiot.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And also, ITV is always going to be there. How often are you going to get to hang out with real presidents and things?
Well, not only that, ITV were also at the D-Day commemoration, surely.
Yeah.
They'd send people over. They would have a correspondent and a camera nearby filming it. Just use that. But, I'm not in charge of this.
But then again, you shouldn't have to worry about pleasing some old people who are going to die, or military people. They should be Team Tory, and they're not, which just shows the guy. I feel bad for the guy. It reminds me of a councilman in my hometown of Southwark. Council. That's what he seems like.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a rich wife. I would look great if I had a rich wife. Everybody looks great when they've got a rich wife.
All right, let's move on to the Lewis. It's the Sunday Telegraph, and Putin's in the news. He's not Team World, so you must love him.
No, well, there's the thing. I love the way he treats his country, which is he's fighting for his country. He doesn't care how many people he dies to protect his country, and that's what this story is. Europe, well, it's not that story, but Europe is defenseless and unprepared for nuclear war, warns Putin. And he says basically no one's prepared for nuclear war. But he's mentioning nuclear war. Why is he mentioning it? Because he wants to tell us British people and Americans that he'll mess with us if he continues.
He's been saying this since he invaded Ukraine. I mean, he invaded Ukraine saying it was going to take 3 days and Russian flag would be flying over Kyiv, and that didn't work. And ever since then, he's been like, I'm going to nuke the West. Oh, if you give him any more tanks. Oh, if you give him artillery. If you give him ATACMS or whatever.
Yeah.
ATACMS, I'm going to nuke. And he hasn't so far, because he knows it would be a death sentence for him. And it wouldn't.
Right now it would be. But if they destroy the ports at St. Petersburg, if
sounds like a good idea. Yeah, I mean, Ukraine has developed long-distance drones, so it can hit these things without even using Western weapons. But Putin knows he's lost. In the summer offensive, there's supposed to be a summer offensive at Kharkiv, and he's been bombing, sending rockets to bomb, DIY centres, like shopping centres in Kharkiv. So it's not like he's fighting a fair war. So
what is
Ukraine,
fair war?
A fair war is when the military fights each other. It's not when Putin goes in and bombs all the residents in Mariupol or whatever. It's disgusting. It's not.
And what do you think?
It's not English.
Ukraine.
It's not British.
Is that British? Well, that's what. And is Britain or even America winning? No.
Absolutely, the West is winning. The West won on day 4 when Putin hadn't achieved his objectives. Russia now has a completely winnowed down military. The only thing that it's got is now Putin has to continue the war to continue his position. He's got a war economy, so he's starting to churn out tanks and things like that. So we really need to help Ukraine. Ukraine is doing all the work. We're just providing money and weapons. So to help Ukraine to finish Putin, get him deposed in a coup, show to other world leaders like Xi Jinping, who might try saber rattle, might try and invade Taiwan. This is what happens. You end up hanging from piano wire.
No. What we need to do is we need to say to Russia, you can have the bits where the Russians are there, and you could maintain your position. I don't like the Russians either. I think they're horrible. But you can't have this kind of thing, which is going to lead to the destruction of the world.
As a compromise, why don't we put Gaza there?
They could have cars.
That would change the situation.
All right, Leo, to the Sunday Telegraph. The EU could have a bonfire of all of those green policies. Oh, that's going to release a fair bit of carbon.
Yeah. So the rise of the right threatens EU net zero ambitions. So surging hard right parties are plotting to dismantle EU net zero laws after the European elections on Sunday, Green politicians have said. So nationalist forces will overturn the bloc's ambition to hit the 2050 zero carbon target in the same way they hardened European migration policy by dragging it to the right, according to Green politicians. Yeah, that's democracy. So people voted. They got sort of drunk on Greta Thunberg about 5 years ago, and in the European elections they voted for all these Green parties, and the European European Parliament had Greens as the fourth largest bloc in the Parliament. But then everybody's realised that all this green stuff, it just increases state size and power. It's just this sort of soft communism, and it's not even about carbon reduction. If they wanted to reduce carbon, they'd want hard borders. They want to not allow in immigrants from the third world, because their carbon footprint will rise exponentially once they arrive in Europe.
But you make a really good point that, look, this is democracy. An actual vote happened, and if these policies come in from the vote, just deal with it. But that's also true of 5 years ago when the Green policies came in because of democracy.
No, I think people were deluded then, and also things can be overturned, and also the way the Greens say, like, you'll never see somebody on the right saying, "Oh, it's anti-democratic that you won those votes." The Greens literally say, and left-wing politicians across Europe say, "Oh, the AfD, people voting for them is anti-democratic." It's like, no, that is how democracy works.
I agree with you, but like you said, it's calling it soft communism. It's real. I think it's real communism.
Yeah.
In America, we weren't allowed to use the word communist. If you said that's a communist, it reminded of something from the 1950s and Richard Nixon. So you weren't allowed to say it. But that's true. The green. It's the war that I've spoken about. It's the left versus the right. It's nation state versus team world.
Yeah.
And while this war is happening between us and them, up from the bottom, and from Russia and from China too, is coming other threats to us. So we need to get along.
Also communist.
We need to get along with these people.
Yeah.
Lewis, the Sunday Express, people are upset that not all views in a seven-way debate were the ones they agreed with.
Yes, I didn't see this, but it looked like a really good debate. They got everybody who is anybody in this country, 7 different voices.
Some of them are nobodies as well.
Yes, the BBC slammed for disgraceful TV election debate as viewers threatened to complain to Ofcom. What were they complaining to Ofcom about is that somebody said something bad about Brexit and the audience applauded, which told everybody that the audience was a left-wing audience. Yeah. But it is the BBC, and it probably is. And this is what happens when you're supposedly neutral, but you're run by the state. And people pay 160-something pounds a year for it. Of course they're going to care. If you don't want people to care, BBC, then don't take our money. I didn't say it. I didn't say it.
You didn't say it.
This story is one that mathematically just sits weird with me. So if you'd have done the same thing in 2016, we know that 48% of the audience would have cheered. So even at the height of the actual referendum, you would have had that. Surveys that have been done on this channel have now said that more people say they would vote differently. So if you take a sample of the population, you get people cheering.
Yeah.
And then there was someone tweeted saying, randomly selected audience? Yeah, right. No one said it was a randomly selected audience. At the start of the debate, they say that the BBC didn't select the audience. They got a polling company that got them that represent the parties on stage. And guess what? Not all of those parties love Brexit. So you're going to get some people cheering. None of it should be surprising until you just hear a thing you don't like and then complain to Ofcom.
But the biggest thing is it's BBC, which is horrible.
But the story is about someone said something bad about Brexit and there was a cheer. Why is that surprising?
Yeah.
Because the BBC shouldn't have a partisan audience. Because as Lewis says, they fund it with a tax on people. Although you don't need to actually pay that tax. I haven't paid the BBC licence fee in ages.
But the BBC didn't select that audience. They got the audience that represents the people on stage. So you had to have, like, samples of 7 different political viewpoints.
Yeah, but I don't believe that. I don't believe that for a second. There's no way. This, like, all through the BBC. The BBC is fairly captured. My cousin works for the BBC, and they're pretty captured. You don't really get people. Somebody with my opinions would be turfed out. And also, it's interesting that you say that it's a left-wing idea, this sort of anti-Brexit thing. And by the way, I didn't vote for Brexit. I voted Remain. But the old left, like Jeremy Corbyn, and the unions, they hated the idea of a big European bloc because they didn't want the free flow of people coming over to the UK and
that
lowering
wasn't
wages.
why they hated it. They hated it, I think, is because it came from a kind of a French-German big state thing, which was controlling the worker, That's when the left believed in workers. They don't believe in workers.
And undercutting the worker as well.
Undercutting the workers. That's why Jeremy Corbyn was against it. They wanted to become a socialist country first.
And I voted Remain because I wanted to undercut the workers.
Yeah.
Leo, the Sunday Telegraph, the BBC was discriminating against white men on its training course, finally admitting that, yes, we already know everything.
So white men have the least chance of getting on a BBC trainee scheme. So non-white applicants to the BBC's flagship journalism training scheme were almost 2.5 times more likely to get in than their white counterparts. So this is disgusting. This is open racism. It's open probably classism as well. But it's actually it's sort of condemning these BAME people, these people of colour, to a career that isn't well paid anymore. The white people who didn't get in, they'll go and get productive jobs doing something useful. These people are going to have to be journalists.
Can you let the people know you're making a joke?
But it's not
a joke.
No, but I'm making a joke, and it's horrible that white men are being excluded from the BBC because it should be representative. It should reflect who pays the licence fee, and it shows that the BBC isn't a meritocracy, and there's going to be a decline in standards because whenever you select on anything other than meritocracy, then there's obviously going to be a decline in standards. And also, how can they justify the licence fee if they're saying, "Oh, give us your money, but we're not hiring anybody who looks like you"?
But you're making it seem like it's far worse than it is. The numbers show that 75% of the applicants, but 59% of the participants who are white. So it's whatever it is. It's 60%, 60, whatever, something 2/3. No, something.
You're literally just rambling numbers.
Yeah, whatever. It's still much higher than I thought. I thought it was going to be like 20% white people and 80% black people.
But Britain's still a sort of, what is it, 85%
I know that,
white?
and that's the problem. We hate those people who run the BBC. They're part of Team World, and they hate the idea. They hate white people, and they hate Britain, and they want to be lovey-dovey to everybody.
Yeah.
And that's why the BBC, unless they give me a job, has no. And I will easily go pro BBC if you.
I don't think you need to worry about that.
No,
I would stress yourself out.
For 24 years they've done nothing.
That's it for part 3. But coming up in the final section, speed cameras that make you go faster, and David Cameron fell for a hoax. I'm guessing fake pig's head? We'll find out next.
Ooh.
Britain's newsroom. Weekday mornings from 9:30.
I've got a grade 3 astrocytoma brain tumour. Once I was diagnosed, I tried to do my claim with my insurance company and was rejected. They then also cancelled my life insurance and also cancelled my wife's policies as well.
And this is Zurich Insurance, John.
This is Zurich,
and their point was, because you'd had some dizzy spells, which you hadn't told them about, they say dizzy spells equates to a brain tumour, which there's no evidence to support that.
I was with King's College Hospital. They ignored them. King's College Hospital were the experts.
So you were expecting £25,000?
Yeah, that was a critical illness claim.
Critical illness, because you've got a critical illness. Clearly, it couldn't be more critical, could it?
No.
Michelle, you've got a lovely, poorly husband, and you're also worrying about paying the bills and what the future holds.
Yeah.
What impact is this having on you on a day-to-day basis?
I try not to think too much about the future because it does upset me. I'm kind of thinking, when John does go, I'm left with a mortgage to pay and 2 young children.
How old are your kids?
5 and 3.
Right.
Yeah. So it's incredibly tough.
And are you working?
I haven't worked since having the children.
Right.
That's a decision we made when we had children.
In the grand scheme of things, this amount of money is a drop in the ocean for a company like Zurich.
Yes, because I think they could make all this go away.
I've read some of the statement. Zurich saying, "We're sorry to hear of the very difficult circumstances Mr. Renlin's family are experiencing." You're terminally ill, and they're calling that difficult circumstances.
The People's Channel.
This is GB News, and we are Britain's election channel.
This vote may seem to be about the politicians and the media, but it's actually about you. We won't forget that.
Join us up and down the country as we follow every moment together.
More than ever, it's important to hear all sides
as you make your decision in the run-up to polling day.
This is GB News,
the People's Channel. Britain's election channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threats on.
As time passes,
She could have said stump. You made my argument for me.
My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different.
Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. Leo the Observer. David Cameron fell for the biggest prank since someone told him, have a Brexit vote, it'll be fine.
So, yeah, the UK Foreign Secretary, David Cameron, has been a victim of a hoax video call with someone claiming to be Petro Poroshenko, the former president of Ukraine. So a number of text messages were exchanged, followed by a brief video call between Lord Cameron and someone pretending to be Poroshenko, which you probably noticed, because I think Poroshenko, wasn't he the one who he was poisoned and then he got the... Or is that Viktor Yanukovych or something?
Yes.
So, yeah, maybe, I mean, it's hard to keep tabs on East European leaders. So maybe he did get fooled, and maybe it was maybe it was just a 2G and, you know, couldn't get the clear. It was like looking at it in a Game Boy. But, yeah, we're seeing, I think there's going to be a lot of hoaxes and things because you can now clone somebody's voice.
Right, yeah.
Lewis didn't actually say that. That was a small computer. In the back said that.
It'll
be an improvement.
But how is this news? This has been going on like forever. So he took a phone call from somebody. Yeah. He didn't give away any secrets. And who the hell is David Cameron anyway? He's not been elected. He's like, when the Tories are down and he's going to take over the Tories, he's going to be the Ed Davey of the Tory party, because the Tory party may not exist after this point.
Get lots of trips out to do crazy golf.
Yeah. He'll and fall into the river. It's David Cameron. He's getting a bit full of himself, I think. I like the guy. I mean, I think he would have been a better Tory head.
I didn't realise he was tall until I saw him at the D-Day celebrations next to... Unless everybody else is tiny.
I think they are, aren't they? I mean, so I bumped into Keir Starmer in Edinburgh last in 2019. I was up there... No, not the 2019 show. And he's small as well. I think he's smaller than his partner. Yeah, which is like that's the no-go zone. Oh, yeah. But no one ever does jokes about him being small, and yet Rishi Sunak, because he's got his trousers that look like he's been pre-wedged, that's why he looks worse.
And he looks tiny.
I've met Rishi Sunak, and he really is a small... I mean, he's a lovely guy, but he really is a small...
Proper Ronnie Corbett style.
Yeah.
OK, well. Lewis, we're on to the Sunday Telegraph. Call off the strikes. We've found a new way for doctors to earn money.
I don't think it's such a new way, but it's a new way because they're not admitting it. This is celebrity doctors promoted COVID vaccine without declaring payments. And it's all coming out right now because everything is coming out about the COVID vaccine, which is it's a killer. They shouldn't have been given to anybody. I mean, I didn't take the vaccine because I had COVID before, and I thought, I don't need to take it. And by the time they all...
But give us the story.
The story is, all these doctors have been on TV telling us to take the thing. They've all been given, not all, probably some of them maybe haven't, but they've all been given money. And they're given money by the NHS, which is promoting the thing. So you can't say anything bad about the NHS, number one. And number two, they've been giving money by
AstraZeneca. As long as you've researched it well.
This Dr. Ranj Singh and Dr. Philippa Kay getting $12,500, $22,000.
Do we know what they were given the money for?
Does it matter?
Well, no. I mean, the headline kind of implies they were given money to promote this, which they weren't. The payments were so far apart time-wise, but I'd like to know what they got the money for. We ever found out?
I think pharmaceutical companies just like to give doctors money because they like doctors, because doctors prescribe the things that they sell. Yeah. It's like taking your top sales team to Crazy Golf.
So that's not what, like the Lib Dems? Crazy Golf?
It is a bit...
I knew they were there for a reason.
Celebrity doctors are a lot like the Lib Dems.
So it's got a bit of a stink to it, but not necessarily the stink they're implying.
Oh, man, no, this is... I mean, and it should have been declared. If they'd have said, oh, by the way, this vaccine I'm pushing, this product that I'm pushing, I receive money from the manufacturer. And,
they wouldn't have been allowed on the show. You can't be on the show. They wouldn't have put them on the show.
I got to push back just in case Matthew Sweet is still watching.
Yeah.
I don't think COVID vaccines, I think, obviously there's some harm in some cases and stuff, and they probably, I think that was covered up to a certain extent, but I think they did probably save some people's lives as well.
So, there's harm in every single vaccine as well.
You know what the problem?
There's no vaccine that is 100% harm-free, and the billions of people who took this.
And this wasn't the vaccine either. It's not a vaccine.
Okay.
It was an MR. No, it wasn't the vaccine. A vaccine is where whatever.
It's to prepare your immune system for the thing it's going to get.
Not.
I'll tell you what, though, the anti-vax people are now so annoying. I'm going to get vaccinated. I'm going to get all my vaccines, all my boosters. I'm going to have all. I'm going to have Moderna, Pfizer, AstraZeneca. I'm going to have some new ones that I invent and make in a spoon. It's going to be fantastic.
They're tasty. We'll try and fit this one in, Leo. The Sunday Times, some speed cameras make people drive faster. Can we have some installed on the M25?
So basically, the speed cameras where it tells you your speed and it gives a smiley face if you're doing under the speed limit and a grumpy face if you're going over. Apparently, some people, quite a lot of people, it makes them speed up because they want to see how fast they can go. So it's got the opposite effect of what it's intended, which is government policy in a nutshell. Anything the government does backfires horrifically. And they probably got money from AstraZeneca.
I disagree with that. I don't know why, but I'm going to disagree.
But they did a thing where now they've got the same speed cameras that if you go more than 3 miles an hour above the speed limit, they don't show you your speed.
Yeah.
As if that's going to... And apparently it does make people not do it as much. But isn't it like a secondary win?
No, it makes it worse because it caps it at like 26 or whatever. So you're thinking, oh my God, my car's broken. You've got to try and like Back to the Future, just, blaze through.
Why don't they put in the car kind of like a thing which tells you how fast you're going? They wouldn't have to tell you. It's
crazy.
A lot of work.
You'll never catch on, but if they do, put me down for a slice of that.
Yeah.
All right, well, the show is nearly over. Let's finish by taking another look at Sunday's front pages. The Mail on Sunday says, divers hunt for missing Dr. Mosley in cave called The Abyss. Sunday Telegraph, Starmer's net zero plans risk blackouts. The Observer, Labour pleasures 80 new rape courts to tackle backlog crisis. The Sunday Times says Starmer's triple lock pledge on not hiking tax. The Sunday Express, Farage says now we're the real opposition. And the Daily Star Sunday, we didn't get around to this one, but I called my son Lucifer, but our lad's not a little devil. Those are your front pages. That's all we've got time for. Thanks to my guests, Leo Kurtz and Lewis Schaefer. We'll be back tomorrow with Josh Howie and Paul Cox. If you're watching at 5 a.m, stay tuned for breakfast. Have yourself a good one. Until the next time, enjoy yourself.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. The weather stays rather mixed across the UK over the next few days, a mixture of sunshine and showers, and staying quite chilly for the time of year too. The cool conditions are all down to a northerly airstream, low pressure anchored towards the northeast of the UK, high pressure out towards the west, and that's generating that northerly flow across all parts. So looking at things in more detail for this evening and through the overnight period, we'll see showers towards the north and northwest of the UK, quite blustery winds, so many of those showers rattling through quite quickly. The rain giving way to more persistent outbreaks as we head into the early hours of Sunday, particularly across Northern Ireland and the southwest of Scotland, whereas across England and Wales the cloud tends to melt away, so it will turn quite chilly here by Sunday morning. In fact, in rural spots, we could see temperatures into low single figures, giving a touch of grass frost in one or two places, pretty unusual for this time of the year. Looking at things in more detail for early on Sunday, and towards the northeast of Scotland we'll see a mixture of sunshine and showers, quite a brisk northwesterly winds. Then we run into an area of more persistent rain across Northern Ireland, southwest Scotland, parts of northwest England, whereas elsewhere across England and Wales it's set fair, quite a chilly start, but there'll be plenty of sunshine around, and we'll hold on to some sunshine here, certainly through the morning on Sunday before cloud starts to increase from the north. Whereas across Northern Ireland we hold on to outbreaks of rain on and off through the day, and that rain slipping its way southeastwards across southwest Scotland into northern England and eventually parts of North Wales too. Further north it's a case of sunshine and showers towards the far northeast of the UK, and staying chilly here with quite a brisk northerly breeze. Temperatures generally no better than 12 to 14 Celsius, up to 20 though in London, that's 68 in Fahrenheit. As for Monday, we'll see an unsettled picture across England and Wales, certainly through the morning. Outbreaks of rain gradually clearing away to the south and east, giving way to a mixture of sunshine and showers across all parts for the remainder of the day. And with that northerly breeze still in place, it's staying quite chilly for the time of year too. We hold on to a showery picture into the middle part of the coming week, and temperatures stay quite disappointing for the early part of June as well.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
We're making this summer funner, with 3 incredible prizes to be won. First, a fantastic £15,000 in tax-free